2025 was a pretty good year for games. I assume I only played through one game that actually released in 2025 this year, but I did play through many other games, and I just want to write about the 10 that I thought were the best. This is semi-inspired by the AK Family Home YouTube channel, where every year he'll post about the games he played, but I decided to talk about the 10 I thought were the best ever in my opinion. Yeah, pretty simple idea, I know, let's get it. And Mario Wonder. When I first played through this game on release in 2023, I didn't really like it. My main issue was that I didn't like the pacing of the levels, with half of the levels being dedicated to the Wonder Flower gimmicks, which I did like, but thought they just made the levels feel too jarring. Coming back to it in 2025, I've developed a new appreciation for it. The things I didn't like about the game are the weird flower people who look like that one flower from Undertale. All of the dialogue is the flower being like, "What the Sigma?" after something weird happens, and I don't think it was a good addition to the game. Another thing I dislike about this game are the little, like, break time levels. Some of them, such as the bad challenges, are okay, but then on the other hand, there are some bad ones where you listen to like a retro Mario song and are handed the collectible, or have to search around trying to find some invisible block. These levels tend to feel like random ideas just kind of thrown in for the sake of having more content. I would have preferred if these break time levels were combined to be more like the mystery box houses in Mario 3D World, because those are more fun in multiplayer. Also, I just really like the whole WarioWare structure over having these small missions be isolated from each other. The base issue with the game, however, is the bosses. So when they were making this game, they made the final boss, which is pretty good and has this interesting music topic to it. And then the simple Bowser Jr. boss, which is like the Koopaling fights throughout the New Super Mario Bros. Games. You fight him a couple of times, and that's it. It just feels like there are a bunch of little bosses, and then a big boss. The bosses weren't good, but on the other hand, they could have been a lot worse. The devs really dropped the ball when it came to just having no boss variety, especially considering how each enemy and the levels as a whole feel. Segueing into the positive aspects about this game, I think the game visually looks great. I think all the levels in the world map look pretty good. I like how the characters make pretty distinct expressions. There are so many little small details added throughout the game, including having this dude jump on the loading screen, that I feel really improved the game. Another thing I love about this game are the variety of enemies, because they definitely help the levels feel unique. The badge mechanic is super good, and I only wish there were more ability badges to experiment with. The power-ups are super good, with my favorite being the bow flower, because it allows for a lot of on-the-fly decision making. The make or break part of this game are the levels, because they definitely feel very different from linear Mario games in the past. If you don't like the Wonder Flower gimmick, then the levels aren't the most interesting, because the Wonder Flowers act as the most unique part of the levels. So without them, most of the levels don't really get going. However, I think the Wonder Flowers work with the levels and add to the experience. On my second playthrough, I felt like the gimmicks really held up and were still fun to play through. A part of me thinks there should have been fewer levels with more length put into fleshing out the base levels and the Wonder Flower gimmicks, but I do feel like this style works. Mario Wonder is a pretty fun game, not one of the greatest, but I think there's potential to improve on the issues to make the next game better. I just hope Nintendo doesn't fall into the trap of making the sequel too similar, like how the New Super series ended up. 9. Mega Man X4. This year I really made an attempt to get into the Mega Man franchise, so I played through the first 4 Mega Man X games. Out of those games, X4 was my second favorite. I really like how this game looks visually, especially some effects like this staircase hold up. But also some things do kind of look a little jank, but that's just for a couple of things. Overall, I really like the art style, and I think it is a pleasant game to look at. The stages are fun, and in comparison to the first 3 Mega Man X games, which only have levels that follow labyrinth level design, this game mixes things up a little, which I think works well. Not to say that those games have similar feeling levels, but the variety in this game is a lot stronger, which some may not like, but I'm into it. The bosses in this game are very good, and in comparison to the other games in the Mega Man franchise, they feel a lot less formulaic, and they are pretty different in comparison to each other. For my playthrough of this game, I played as Zero, who I really enjoyed playing as because his sword abilities are dope, and I liked unlocking more moves as the game progressed. The voice acting in this game can range from okay in the levels to like infamously bad in the cutscenes. I didn't really care for the story too much, but it wasn't bad, and I did like the cutscenes. Not a bad game, and for anyone interested in looking into the Mega Man franchise, this would be a good place to start. 8. Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie is a game with levels that are very creative and are pretty fun to explore. I think all the Jiggies were super enjoyable to collect because they feel very varied from each other and also don't feel like I'm just doing something completely random. I love how all the random objects in this game just talk. The dialogue is also pretty good and funny. The movement is pretty good, and while I don't think it is as good as its competitor, Mario 64, because that game has a lot more potential for the player to go quick, the movement works in this game because it just honestly feels smoother to control. It was fun expanding the moveset throughout the game too. The hub world was honestly not very good and I found it very confusing to traverse. I never found myself getting lost in any of the main levels, but to me the hub world felt too random. It also sucks having to recollect all the notes in the levels if you die in order for new ones to count, especially because by the end of the game you are expected to have a good chunk of them. Honestly, one of my favorite ever 3D platformers. The levels are incredible. I like when you collect the Jinjos and they say, Jinjo.
Burn.
And the characters are pretty cool. I would highly recommend this game, and I would highly not recommend Banjo-Tooie because that game is awful and it was a complete waste of my time. Just don't play it. Trust me, it is very boring. 7. Sonic Mania. This game is not fake retro, it is real retro. The level design in this game flows so well. All the paths go well with each other, and they lead to the game feeling difficult to feel repetitive on repeat playthroughs. I'm a big fan of the classic Sonic games, but this one is definitely my favorite. A lot of people argue that Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the best one, but I just could never get into the levels because I feel like they're too vertical. Sonic Mania fixes this problem while keeping all the nooks and crannies with all the unique routes to proceed through the levels. It's so good. The first time I played this game years ago, I didn't fully appreciate it, but I feel that with many playthroughs I was really able to understand how this game works, and maybe that's why I'm not the biggest fan of Sonic 3. I haven't given it nearly as many playthroughs as this game. I don't know. The bosses in this game are pretty good. In comparison to Sonic Super Slop, they work because they don't take more than like 30 seconds to deal with on average, and they feel like a good way to include the levels. The animations in this game are incredible, and they did not need to put this much attention to detail with each sprite. I will point out that sometimes the collision can be a little wonky, like in the infamous Chemical Plant Torture Room, and also in the final level, because that level especially feels a little buggy in terms of collision. Sonic Mania is definitely my favorite Sonic game of all time. I haven't played Adventure 2 yet, so that could change, but maybe not. Actually, nothing I said about this game matters because this one part in Sonic 2 is better than this entire game. Six, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I played the new Switch Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Seeing the new hype around Bonanza, I wanted to celebrate by going back and replaying Tropical Freeze, considering that I have no intentions of getting a Switch 2. I really like this game and I think it's one of the best platformers I've ever played. I love the level design in this game mainly because of how everything in the levels flow together, but also because the visuals of the levels help it feel more realistic, like there will be all these bees in the background of this level. Stuff like that is super constant throughout the whole game. Visually, the game is super good at like all the details in the backgrounds and foregrounds, and just the elements that went into all the worlds. I love any game with a winter aesthetic, and this game does that pretty well. The bosses were really good. I liked how they all took place in some kind of stadium, and I thought the attacks were fair and that the pacing for the fights was good. Donkey Kong definitely controls differently compared to a lot of other platformers I've played, but I think his movement, along with the abilities from the other Kongs, definitely adds to the levels by making them enjoyable to play. The bonus game sections were really repetitive, and by the end of the game, some levels had 2 of them. I would have just preferred to get the puzzle piece and leave, especially considering that there are only like 10 layouts for the bonus game. One other small nitpick I had was that some levels have multiple exits, which is cool, but the issue is that you have to play through the level multiple times to get each secret exit, so I kind of wish it was structured a little differently so like you could find a key that would unlock the secret level, and then you could just play the ending of the level as normal or something like that. I want to make it clear that the issues I have with this game are trivial and that I think it is amazing. Great game, and I have been playing through the other Donkey Kong Country games and they are pretty good as well, but not as good as this one. Maybe Donkey Kong Country 2 will be better. 5. Icarus Uprising. So yeah, I'm modding my 3DS this year. Sorry my footage for this game doesn't look the best. The only viable method of recording gameplay for this game was to use the Homebrew application and hope for the best. Now to address the elephant in the room with the game. The controls are not the most comfortable. I think it is possible to get used to them, and I actually did end up liking them, but I understand this is a major barrier that might make people not like the game. I don't think they are too horrible during the flying parts, but online it definitely gets more annoying. If only there was some kind of second joystick the player could use instead, on some kind of new device. This game is incredible. I love all the stupid banter that goes on throughout the levels. The game is really funny. Just a bunch of good jokes like Pit referencing a loading screen at one point. All the weird little creatures you fight are really cool. And also after growing up playing Smash Run, I finally get like where half of the enemies come from. Uprising is required reading to fully enjoy Smash Run, I swear. The different types of weapons are sick, and I liked experimenting with them during the game. The bosses were pretty fun, and I enjoyed the variety in the boss types. The Grando bits were dope as hell. I just want to throw that in there. This game is visually really good, and I love all the designs of the worlds within the game. The game's difficulty meter is a pretty interesting mechanic, and I wasn't actually expecting the higher number of difficulties to actually be that difficult. But I think that's because I was basing my expectations on the Smash Bros. Classic mode, which uses the same difficulty scale mechanic. I wonder why I don't think the Smash Bros. Mode is that difficult. This is a game I would highly recommend checking out, but it is annoying that it's a 3DS exclusive and has the whole control scheme problem. If only Nintendo would just remaster this game and put it on Switch 2 or something, but that's just a stupid dream that Nintendo won't realize. 4. Undertale. Man, what a great intro song. Undertale, the original game, where you decide what to do. I played the neutral route of this game back in like 2020 and thought the game was pretty good, but I was always more interested in Deltarune when I played that around the release of Chapter 2. But when I saw this game go on sale for $1 earlier this year, I decided to check it out again. This playthrough I did a genocide route playthrough of this game, which I'm not gonna lie is not very good. It is made very clear that you are not supposed to fight, so the mechanics regarding combat are extremely shallow, and for some reason when playing the genocide route, the enemies only spawn in on one screen, so the whole experience is boring. Also, when you play through this route, the music gets slower as you progress, and at the end, it just gets removed, so yeah, just another reason not to play it, especially because the music is very good. I like the 2 bosses you get for playing through this mode, and all the stuff involving the flower from Kerplunk is really cool, but I also don't like how all the other bosses are just removed near the end of the game. Also, the ending to this mode is ridiculous, like, I don't char about how evil I was, bro, it's just a game, relax. I was just left feeling like the game was fine, but nothing crazy, like maybe it was just overhyped mid-slot. Later in the year, after a certain game dropped, I realized I need to get my act together and finally finish the True Passes route in Undertale. I'm not gonna lie, I was honestly dreading it and thought it was gonna be boring based on my experience with the Genocide route, but I decided to play it anyways. Also, for this playthrough, I decided to play it on my Switch. Also, my file wasn't corrupted from playing Genocide route. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, don't worry about it. What does matter is that this time I played through the game and everything just kinda clicked. I'm not the biggest fan of turn-based games, but I do like how fighting works in pacifist mode because it essentially just boils down to reading and dodging bullet hell patterns, which are 2 of the things this game does the best. All the characters in this game are fun to talk to, and I feel like they truly liven up the world. This is something I didn't really appreciate too much the first time I played years ago, and in Genocide route for obvious reasons, but I like the talking sprite animation for some characters. Like, most aren't anything crazy, but sometimes they're stupid, but funny. Special shouts to Burger Pants. Anyone who has played this game knows he's great. This is probably the best line any game ever made, but I specifically think he's a good character because no matter what the context of the game is, he's always at this shop. Like, oh, Chara, not actually Chara, you. Yes, you, the player, is killing everyone, or oh, the barrier has been broken. I know that every shopkeeper stays at their shop no matter what happens, but I like how his tone doesn't change. Probably the part that has stuck with me the most after playing the True Pacifist route would either be the final boss or the True Lab, but I want to talk about the True Lab because it feels truly weird, and the whole general tone is disturbing. I won't spoil anything about it here, because I somehow managed to dodge most of the spoilers myself before playing, but yeah, it's really good and weird. Good media comforts the disturbed and disturbs the comforted. This game is a masterpiece, but I just don't care for the Genocide route at all, but it's okay because it's just an optional silly mode that doesn't take away from how good True Pacifist route is, and also neutral route. 3. Mega Man X. Right from the first level, it is made clear that this game is metal as hell. I think the game does a good job of conveying a tone of hope, even though the world it takes place in is being destroyed. The quarry levels are all really good, minus the one airship theme level I don't really care for. It reminds me of Mega Man 2, where I feel like all the 8 default stages are all pretty solid and distinct. Okay, I low-key just brought up this game to show off this bird level select trick. I really like how when you beat a level, it can have effects on the other levels, which can really help make playthroughs feel distinct. The other levels after you defeat all the robot masters aren't as strong in my opinion, mainly because I don't like replaying the bosses unless it's handled like in the other X games where it's just one big gauntlet, not divided into levels, but I still enjoyed them, and the unique bosses in those levels are good. I think all the weapons you get in the game feel pretty useful, and sometimes I even feel like using them outside of situations where they are required for upgrades, which is not something I did with the other SNES Mega Man X games when I played through them. In terms of movement, I think X is fun to control, and I like how easily you can go from like slower gameplay to a much quicker gameplay experience, with the dash especially, because it works well and doesn't feel jarring. Moves like the wall jump and dash really elevate the game and make the levels feel incredible to play. Although I do think it is weird that you have to play one specific level to get the dash. And it's like, I feel like it would be a little difficult to imagine someone playing this game in 2025 and not knowing you're supposed to play the snow level first to get the dash. But I just don't like that it's not given to you for playing any stage. The upgrade system is really good, and for the most part, I feel like it was pretty easy to naturally find the upgrades. The bosses feel like they are fair to fight, and I like their designs. I also like how if you don't like a boss, you can just clock from using a specific weapon. Again, adding to that replayability factor of this game. I know that is a given for every Mega Man game, but still. I definitely do prefer the bosses in X4, but I think the levels in this game are better. I would highly recommend this game because even though it's fairly simple on the surface, I feel like it really excels at everything it tries to do. Also, Zero is dope as hell, and he is my second most wanted character for the next Smash game, only behind like Tenno. 2. Astrobot. This was the game that made me invest in PS5, and I have to say it was worth it. I haven't really gotten to playing many games on it, which is something I hope to change next year, but this is one of the few I have played, and is by far the best. The attention to detail in every single area of this game is incredible, and I love how alive this game feels, which is a little ironic because everything is robotic in this game. The haptic feedback on the controller throughout this game is really cool. It really makes you feel like you are Astrobot. The variety in levels you play is also really good. Like, one second you were playing a level about gambling, and then you could play a level about the triangle button. I think the best part about this game is how simple everything is. All Cosmobot can do is jump, hover, and spin attack, and pull things out of the ground, unless you get some kind of ability, but even then those are not very complex. The levels are still good because they use the simplicity to their advantage by not making the game feel too overwhelming, and they also make good use of the buddy abilities. The game is very beginner friendly, like you can't even fall off the stage without jumping, but the game can also be challenging. It has a good balance of difficulty. The boss fights are pretty good. I like how they all follow the whole 3 hits meme the Mario series has been doing. Very good game. Pretty much just the third Mario Galaxy game, so yeah, it's incredible. I never finished playing through Mario Galaxy 2, but hopefully next year I will do so. 1.
Alright, baby. Come on. Here we go now. My name is House.
Seltzer. This was the only game I felt really excited about that released this year. The long wait from Chapter 2 finally ended this year, which took nearly 4 years, and we got Chapters 3 and 4, which were both incredible in my opinion, and 100% worth the wait. Booting up Chapter 3 was crazy because we literally knew like nothing about the chapter before it released. Like now everyone knows who Tenno is, but we didn't even know what his design was. I mean, I guess it technically leaked, but it was more like a mini design of him. Tenno is an incredible character, and I find all of his dialogue to be pretty entertaining. And I love how his design, and even his font, contrasts with everyone else. When I first saw him in-game, I thought he was strange and not funny, but he quickly grew on me, and is now one of my favorite characters ever. I like the board game sections throughout the chapter. They shake up the whole gameplay formats in previous chapters pretty well, and the dialogue and all the stupid little interactions you can do are incredible, such as if you take too long to push this block. There's special dialogue, and there are plenty of other examples which help these sections feel a lot more interesting. The minigames you play are also really fun, and I like how the characters get new costumes for them. The ending to this chapter is also insane, like the bosses at the end are some of my personal favorites in the entire game. They are that good. The only issue I have with this chapter is that there wasn't a shopkeeper screen like in Undertale in the previous chapters. I think it would have been perfect to get to Ran. Chapter 4 is like the exact opposite of Chapter 3 in terms of tone, but I think it works as a good opposite to everything in Chapter 3. All the shenanigans at the holiday house at the beginning of the chapter was pretty good, and was a fun way to start the chapter. The Dark World was really good in this chapter, and visually is my favorite by far. All the lighting looks beautiful. And especially the ending boss of this chapter looks incredible. I really like the weird enemy designs of this chapter, like super weird and cool. The emphasis on sound in this chapter is really fascinating. I like how it enhanced the narrative. The act commands for this chapter and Chapter 3 were pretty fun and creative. It made the bosses feel great, especially the Super Mario 64 DS reference in Chapter 3. Gerson Boom was pretty good in this chapter. I mean, not as good as Tenna, but like that is a pretty high bar, but still goated. Just a pretty fun dude, especially the I'm old at command. Man, that was one of my favorite parts of the entire game. This chapter was incredible. My only real complaint was that the first Dark Wolf felt a little too long, but other than that, it was great. My favorite part of this chapter is right before the end, where something important about the prophecy gets revealed. I'm not going to spoil it, but that moment was crazy. Just the lighting and music really make this scene incredible. In my opinion about which one is better out of the two chapters has been changing, and while I think both are 9 out of 10 experiences, I'm going to have to go with me preferring Chapter 3 because I feel like it was paced a little better. And because that's Tenna, and while Gerson is cool, I just don't care about him as much. I don't know, this could change considering the fact that I haven't done any of the bonus room stuff in Chapter 3, like the mantle, minigame, or the Snowgrave route in Chapter 4. Yes, we are still calling it Snowgrave. So this could change. I did play through Chapter 2 Snowgrave for the first time, and I have to say it is much better than Undertale Genocide route because it actually feels like you have to go out of your way to deliberately do something wrong. It is also a lot more interesting affecting a character within the narrative, rather than it just being a solo character ordeal like it was in Undertale. Chapters 3 and 4 are a masterpiece, and I seriously cannot wait for the future chapters. If anything about this game looks interesting, then I would highly recommend checking it and Undertale out. That will do it. Thank you guys for watching.